We are live. What's up, beasties? It's Triple B, the bearded book beast, and I am here with a special guest. I'm super pumped to have him here, and that is Corey Ratliff. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. He is the author of these beautiful books you see behind me. Oh man, I'm just looking at the comments, and Josh at Already Over Books said Chris is chatting it up and forgot to go live. You are correct. We were
Yep.
just talking up a storm. But yeah, we got Josh is in here. Thanks for being here, man. And yes, I agree. His covers are sick. We're gonna talk all about that. Grimfell's here. What's up, man? It is gonna be fire. You are right. Timothy Wolfson here. What's up, dude? How's it going? All right. All right. So first thing I like to do is let you just kind of talk about your books in general and give a little pitch for them.
Okay. So I'm Corey Ratliff, for those who don't know, and I have other books as well, but mainly the Elmerian Chronicles, which is behind you there,
Yes,
and
sir.
then um, so the Elmerian Chronicles is a culmination of a lot of things from my early teens of where I fell in love with fantasy, and my gateway into fantasy was Aragon. So I've always had a huge love for dragons and dragon riders. Um, and as I got older, I wanted to start writing, and I did. And I wanted to hold off on writing a dragon novel, a dragon rider series, until I knew that I had some experience in writing, because I wanted it to be quite, heavy emotionally and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I finally got around to writing it, um, I had the idea of having it being a young adult series. And when I started writing, I realized that the world that I was trying to build, YA did not suit it.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up making it more adult. And as the series has gone on, it's become more and more grim.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's partially because you get to see the brutality of this world, and that's really what I wanted to showcase of the world of Marinor, is how brutal it is. And it's been brutal for millennia.
Mm-hmm.
And then other series I have planned in this world, they'll show that this world is just always going to be a really brutal, cutthroat world. So I wanted to go ahead and make an adult, more grim story that still followed the Dragon Rider trope, but yet still felt classic. Had a lot of the classic settings and things of the Tolkien era and classic fantasy, but yet with a little bit more of a modern spin on it. So I always tell people I write adult Dragon Rider stories, but they're not like those other adult Dragon Rider stories.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And I agree with Grimfell and Josh. I love Grimdark, so I'm excited, man, to get into it. We were just talking before that I read this prequel novella this week because I wanted to have something read before we met, and it was awesome, dude. I loved it. So before we get too deep into things, we were just talking a little bit. There's people like to know where novellas fit in and stuff. So I've got book 1 and book 2. Wait, yeah, over here. I can never tell which way I'm supposed to face. And then this is a prequel novella, but some people think, should I read them in like chronological order? Should they be release order? So from the author himself, what do you recommend is the best way to go, and where should you start?
So I wrote the prequels in tandem with the novel. So I wrote book 1, and then I wrote Ashes of a Risen Empire, and then I wrote book 2, and then I wrote the new one that just came out on October 25th, which is Shadows of a Lost Hollow, and then we'll have book 3. So as far as like how I wrote them, I think it's probably best to read them in publishing order.
Mm-hmm.
But they are written in a way that if you do not read the novellas or you don't want to, you're not missing any core parts of the main trilogy. I didn't want to write other books that people had to go, spend more money on and just to get those details. So they are meant to, they're meant to fill out a little bit more of the world, a little bit of the history, and show you where characters have come from, or in the case of Shadows of the Lost Hollow, where the clan of Thraldor came from, and it just kind of helps fill out the world a little bit. Now I do have two other trilogies planned in this world that I will eventually do, and I'll do the same thing there. I'll have a bunch of novellas eventually throughout this entire world that fill out everything. Because when book one starts, Whispers of Worldbreaker, we're at the end of the Fourth Age. There's history that is told throughout there that goes all the way back to the First Age, which was 10,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of world to cover. And then the next two trilogies, the next one jumps ahead about 350 years.
Okay.
And then the third one jumps ahead of Almerian Chronicles by about 800 years.
Oh,
so all in all, we're eventually going to have about 11,000 years of history. So I'll have plenty of novels and novellas to fill out the world. But I always want the novellas to just be, kind of bonus things to flesh out the world and things like that. They don't really follow any character that is super important as far as the main cast of the series goes. Kind of, with the exception of, the first novella. But
yeah.
if you don't read that one, you're still fine. You're still good, and you're not missing anything.
Okay. Novel Insights is in here, Dr. L. He's loving your Ford hat. I agree. Looking sharp.
It's a new hat.
That's a nice hat. Those are my favorite kind of hats. Is that got like the mesh on the back?
Oh yeah.
Yep. Those are my favorite. You gotta let the head breathe.
Yeah.
I love those hats.
Yeah,
they call them trucker hats, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're nice to work in.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I agree with Josh. Like, I love when, if there's a trilogy in a world and you love it, and then the author goes forward in time and keeps like doing that. I think that's so cool to see how this world you love, how it looks hundreds of years from now. So I love that you're going to do that. I'm pumped, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I spent a long time building the world before I decided, which era I wanted to tell the first story in.
Okay.
And I started here, but there are little name drops throughout the history of the world of Marinor. You hear a lot about like Cataclysm and the first age of man, the fall of man, and then when you get into the dwarves, you learn about Thraldor's fall. You learn who Thraldor was, and all of these are across the span of about 5,000 to 8,000 years, but they're all important parts of history.
Right.
And a lot of the history is spun and twisted or forgotten and just changed. And I kind of played that off of our world now. We don't really truly know the history of our world, especially if it's outside your country. Like I couldn't tell you anything about Ecuador,
right?
Things like
that.
But and that's that kind of. That's the baseline of realism that I wanted to add to the series, to make the world feel really, really lived in, and and spread it out across centuries like that, and show how the world has changed, how people change, factions, and what history does, countries and cities.
That's perfect, man. I love it. GJ Terrell just came in here. Let's go. What's up, man? And then Timothy had asked a good question. Oh, Molly McCobb's in here too. What's up, Molly? Timothy had asked if it took me a minute to figure out what he was asking. So is your novella in like the competition thing? It must be for novellas, like Spiff Bow, but Baby Bow. Is that? I'm thinking that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Is it in one of those?
Yeah. It's in I've never heard it called that before.
I don't mean
yes, it is.
I'm like, is that a typo? What is he saying? And I'm like, oh, I think I get it.
Yes, it is. It has already been read and reviewed. I don't foresee it winning by any means, but especially when I saw everybody else that got lined up in it. But I was just happy to get in because I put Whispers of Worldbreaker up for the Spiff Bow, and
Okay.
There were so many this year that I didn't make the cut, but
Ah,
that's okay. But I
okay.
made it in this one with the novella, and if
Nice.
it don't work out, in my mind, the second novella I believe is a lot better. Um, it you know it's after I had already written that novella and the two novels, so my writing's a lot better, characterization, everything. So next year I'll throw that one in there. And I'll
Heck
throw
yeah, dude.
Whispers of Warbreaker and
Yes.
SPFBO 11.
Heck
See if I
yeah.
make it.
Do it up, man. That's awesome. So I think it must be called, is it called SF Inks?
Yeah,
Is that
it's
is that the proper name?
yeah, speculative fiction indie novella competition, I think.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Oh, awesome, man. Oh, yeah. It would be a power move to win Baby Bow and Spit Bow at the same. That would be pretty sweet, dude.
That'd be that'd be
That would be
something.
pretty awesome. Oh, that's cool. All right. So we've talked a little bit about your books. So I want to know, I want to go back in time and think of when Corey was just a young lad in his oversized Ford hat. What were your like earliest inspirations for your writing? Like we'll get to when you decided you wanted to write, but early on, like were you into reading when you were young? Were you into
Um,
writing when you were young?
I used to say that I wasn't into writing, but over the years I've recalled some memories, I guess, where I was writing.
Yeah.
But I first fell in love with like I think fiction in general. I fell in love with that in
Mhm.
reading comic books.
Nice.
I That's kind of where I started,
Me too.
and then we had always had to read for school. And
Hmm.
then when I was, I think 12, I think it was when I was 12, I picked up Aragon, and when I picked up Aragon, only book two was out. So it was still a
Yeah.
pretty new series, and then I just went down a rabbit hole with fantasy.
Yeah.
Um, I remember falling in love with the Spooks Apprentice series. Not a lot of people know about that one, but um, they made a shitty movie off of it. But
I say that sounds
um,
familiar, but I never read it.
yeah, the movie was the Seventh Son,
Okay.
so it had Ben Barnes in it. But um, that's kind of where I really fell in love with you know fiction and fantasy and the escapism of it all. And then
Hmm.
I remember our freshman year in high school we read Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and
Nice.
that piqued a different interest in my
Hmm.
mind of a little bit darker things. And then I started
Yep.
getting into um, I started switching my comic books up to more like the Punisher and
Yeah.
Venom, things like that, and
Yep.
the
Yep.
anti-hero.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so all of those interests, and then of course movies. I remember recording on a VHS Blade when it came out.
Oh, heck yeah.
That was and Blade was that was my life. That and then the Matrix and
Oh,
um,
that's good stuff,
those
man.
just those. I've always loved the stories of a hero, and yet a hero that will take things a lot farther than what a hero technically should.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep.
And I say that, but yet Superman is still my favorite superhero of all time. So
The most squeaky clean superhero there.
yeah,
He
so
throws down when he needs
um,
to, though.
yeah, and people always ask, why I like Superman. Like
Hmm.
he's boring and he doesn't kill, but I think it's the fact of how powerful he is and the
Right.
struggle that he deals with daily to control
Hmm.
that so that he
Yep.
doesn't hurt people. I think that takes a lot more internal
Hmm.
fortitude and strength than just going out and killing the bad guys.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
yet at the same time, I am I relate more with anti-heroes and things like that.
Right.
Um, and then I joined the military when I was
Hmm.
18, and then I
Yep.
really resonated with things like the Punisher.
Oh, yeah.
So um, yeah, and then I like I said I've recalled stories of in school having to do writing assignments, and I
Hmm.
remember our sophomore year, our teacher gave us a picture and said, "I want a two-page story on it, fictional story," and I turned in a 24-page short story. And the picture I had, I don't know. One day I just remembered that I wrote it, but it was like a planet. It was a blue planet, like it was frozen. And
Okay.
somehow it clicked, and I wrote a story about an ice planet with werewolves on it.
That sounds
And
pretty sick, man.
it was, but as far as like earliest writing, that's the
Yeah.
earliest I can remember
Okay.
actually like writing a fictional story. And then about 10 years ago, I had the idea and I wanted to start writing.
Hmm.
And then at that time, I didn't really research. I didn't research a lot. I didn't know about self-publishing.
Hmm.
So I had contacted some people, but about it completely just ass backwards.
Oh,
Found out
okay.
later on that who I was talking to was Vanity Press, and they're like, "Oh, if you pay us this much money and blah blah," and I was
Oh,
like, and my first instinct was, "Why would I pay you to
right.
publish my book?"
Yeah.
And then later on I learned that that's Vanity Press, and that's all the wrong way of going about it.
Right. Right.
So I was starting to write a story, and I can't even remember what I was writing now, but when I found out that I was going to have to pay for it, I hung it up. And at that time, I was in a rock band, and had to stuck with that for a while. And then 5 years
Hold on.
ago,
Hold on. Let's not go past that. Let's talk about that for a second. You were in a rock band. All right. I have some questions. So one, what was the name of the rock band?
well, I've been in a couple. Um,
Holy
the
smokes.
first one the first one I was in was called Through the Fall,
Okay, that's
and
cool.
then the second one I ended up joining a band that was already established, and that was Before My Eyes.
Ooh.
So um, I was the lead slash rhythm guitarist for the first band, Through the Fall,
Okay.
and then I was also the singer, songwriter,
Hmm.
and then I was just a singer for Before My Eyes.
Oh
So
man.
I did
Okay.
that. I did music for about a decade, and then I got into writing, and that kind of something clicked with that's what I should have been doing all
Yeah.
along. Um, a lot of times there's a double edged sword about it. I wish that I would have started writing when I was younger.
Right. Right.
And by the age I am now, maybe I'd be farther along. But at the same
Yeah.
time, if I had started writing then, I wouldn't have had all the life experiences I've had now
Exactly.
to go
Yeah.
into the stories that I'm telling now. So
Right. Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Mhm.
There's a lot of other big writers out there that started way later.
Yeah. Right.
So then 5 years ago, I finally decided to research into it a little bit, found out about
Hmm.
self-publishing, and
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, I can do this." And then I got excited about it and started writing.
Nice.
That's my whole writing journey.
Hey, that's an awesome journey, man. We are glad that you went on it. Um, there's a couple good comments in here I wanted to show you in case you didn't see them. But Grimfeld said we're talking about Swiftbow that your stuff's up there with Ryan and Kyle's, so you should go for it, man. So that's a
I
nice little
appreciate
bit of
that.
praise there. And then Timothy, who's also an author, said that scams are rampant. So yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that try to take advantage of indie authors.
Yeah, and I still see people that are getting sucked into them. And
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it sucks, but
It's probably there's just gonna be more and more, social media makes it
yeah.
way too easy for people to just send the message and try to,
Oh yeah,
say all the right things and make it sound like it's too good to be true and stuff like that. But
yeah.
man,
I still get a spam email.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
I bet.
10 years later, I'm still getting spam email from them. They're like, "Hey,
Oh
you publish a
my you're
book?"
like, no, I
I'm like,
know
just
you.
go check Amazon. I'm already on there.
I'm already good. Oh, that's so true. And then Grimfell said music and writing bleeds into each other for sure, especially since you were kind of a songwriter for one of your
Hmm.
bands. Like you probably feel that like the process of trying to create a song is probably similar
Yeah,
in some ways to creating your books and your worlds and stuff.
yeah, and yeah. I've always been a fan of lyrics that tell a story too. Not they're not
Hmm.
just you
Right,
know screaming into the void.
right,
I like to tell a story, and I've always done
yeah,
that. So yeah, I mean, writing music and especially lyrics, um, it definitely bleeds into writing, sure. And then
100.
I listen to a lot of music for the emotional connection as
Yeah.
I'm writing. So
I was say, do you listen to music while you write?
I do. I listen to usually not lyrical. I don't really
Yeah.
listen to a lot of
Yeah,
lyrical
that's
stuff
probably hard.
while I'm writing. If I have an idea and I'm like processing it mentally,
Hmm.
then I'll go listen to some metal and stuff like that if it's a heavy action scene or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I go through all the choreography in my head and um, but a lot of times if I'm writing, just through and through, I'll throw on some fantasy music or epic music and, go to town.
Heck yeah, man. Up, looks like DJ's got to bounce. Thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Have a good
Yeah, thank
night.
you.
And then Beard of Darkness is here. He said, "Look at these two good-looking sumbitches." That's right. He knows. He's got a pretty
It's a
good-looking
whole lot
beard
of
himself.
beards.
That is a lot of beards. Um, Dr. L at Novel Insights wanted to ask, what marketing strategies do you find to be successful since as you've gone along your journey? What have you had luck with?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I got lucky in a lot of ways. There's a lot of things that I've picked up over the years.
Hmm.
A lot of insights I picked up from Ryan Kyle. I mean, he's given out just so much marketing,
Hmm.
you know, little tips here and there. And um, if you could just go watch his interviews and read his blog posts,
Yeah.
there's so much in there that if you follow that, the reason that he's successful is because his books, but the
Right.
reason he's also cracked that code, so to speak, is
Right.
because what he's doing it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of putting out novellas in between books and kind
Hmm.
of keeping your reader engaged in your world
Right.
more often throughout the year. So if I put
Hmm.
out one novel, so I put out, like, let's see, so June I put out book one,
Hmm.
and then November I put out the novella, and then June the next year I put out book two, and then October I put out a novella, and then this upcoming June I'm gonna put out book three. So over the course of the year, now you're hitting readers twice in one year,
Yeah.
getting them back in that world.
Yep.
Your magic systems, your settings,
Yep.
everything. And
Brilliant.
when you do that, um, you know, it's if I have book one out, that's fine. But if I have book two out and a novella in between it and another novella getting ready to come out, then subconsciously for a reader, that's the fourth book in the series that's coming out.
Hmm.
Fourth book in that world's going to come out.
Yeah.
So while I'm getting ready to drop book three, I'm writing book three now. You know,
Right.
that's actually the fifth. So that's probably big. One of the biggest things for me is putting those novellas out, building up my network of people and supporters, um, and it's kind of just been a big snowball effect. For the most part, I had a huge jump when I redid the covers. The old covers I did were shit. So I had these redone, and
Okay.
then that got a lot of attention on them.
Hmm. Oh yeah, they're gorgeous.
One because of the cover, and then two because the whole AI debacle that happened on that.
Oh geez.
So um, that got it into a lot of eyes. A lot of people shared it, in their the booktube and things like that, and their blogs. And then just giving out copies here and there, and trying to watch the analytics of when I do free promos and things like that to see what is going to um, what's gonna work well.
Hmm.
I originally what I used to do was just like through KDP, you get up to 5 days per like 90-day period. You can do
Right.
5 days of free promo.
Hmm.
So I used to be like, okay, for the next 5 days, get my book for free. But then I'd watch that, and over the course of the first 3 days, it was good. There was a nice little slope to it, and then by the last 2 days, it would just fall off.
Hmm.
And now, over the course of that 90 days, a 3 month period, now I've lost in that trail off. So now what I do is different points throughout the year, I'll put up the whole series for free for one day. And that has boosted my downloads a lot more
Hmm.
per one day than just doing one book for 5
Right.
days.
Okay.
So I'm always playing with like things like that.
Yeah, that's
And
smart.
then you got, there's still a lot that I'm learning, and there's a lot that I'm still trying out. I
Hmm.
watch, I watch a lot of polls and things that people put on Twitter, and an example one is Fanboy Addict just did a poll recently and said, how many people don't read a series that is incomplete. Like, you won't start a series if it's not done.
Right.
And the number of people that won't start a series that is incomplete was way higher than I thought it would be. And I think a lot
Yeah.
of people are burned out.
Right. Oh
We've had a
yeah.
couple big
Never
name
finished.
authors
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. I know.
So
Whatever could you be talking about?
um, there's still some things that I'm trying and that I'm watching. So
Hmm.
with book 3 coming out in June, that'll be the finale, and then I can be like, complete series done, and then I can
True.
watch to see if that's going to affect sales or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just getting the books into people's hands, getting those reviews put out, and connecting with a lot of people that love to read and love to talk about it and share them. That's been what's the biggest thing. So
Nice. Makes sense. Let's see. NA is here. What's up, man? Welcome. And then Timothy had said that you blew up after the new covers. At least that's what he
yeah.
noticed. And I kind of feel like those, though. I mean, they're awesome, dude. I was gonna ask you about those. So I guess I didn't even realize what. How long ago did you do the cover switch?
Um, let's see. It was about this time last year.
Okay.
Oh, actually, I know exactly when it was. Um, so last year, I'm trying to remember who did it. They were running a Black Friday sale,
Okay.
and so they got a whole group of authors together and said, we're going to do a Black Friday sale. Either your book will be free or 99 cents, whatever, and
Hmm.
we'll put you in. So I put mine in, and I was going to run a promo on it. Got super excited when it got accepted into that, and then when they sent out these little, epithets, these little boards that showed all the covers on them,
Yeah.
I was real excited at first, and then a heartbeat later, I thought, my book looks like shit compared to everybody else's. So I knew immediately I had to redo them. So
Oh
I
man.
redid them.
Hmm.
And I went and I bought some art from an artist, redid them, and they were black, and then I switched them to white. And
Okay.
the cover that was on them, another indie author reached out and said, I think that the dragon that is on it is AI, and
Oh.
I'm hugely against AI art,
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
really any generative art or generative AI at all. So um, I immediately deleted the post and stuff. And then everybody that was really excited for the covers, that was starting to spread the name about them. I said,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
Hmm.
I'll find something else. And then another author, Shelley Campbell, reached out to me and she said, I'll make you a dragon. And so she made the first dragon, and then she ended up making the other ones.
Hmm.
And she really, really came through and saved them, because the AI ones, they were AI, but they look cool still. But that compared to Shelley coming through and really making Eldris is on the first on book 1. And Eldris
Oh, yeah, it looks awesome.
is the main dragon of the series. And she took everything that I wanted to make him to be, and made it perfectly. And it gave a lot more personalization to the series covers. And it boosted everything. A lot of people got a lot of word about that, and then it got shared on several different social media posts. Um, and then BookTube. I mean, even let's see, who's posted, or YouTube was it on? Oh, it was Patrick. Patrick Leo.
Mm,
He shared what had happened, and then that that got a lot more eyes on it,
yeah.
and that's just kind of went since then. And then
Hmm.
after all that happened, then I got book 2 done, and
Nice.
then so now Shelley's become she's my
Your
only
cover
artist that I
art.
get to.
That's awesome, man. She
So
killed it.
she did book 1, 2, 3, and
Okay.
Ashes of Risen Empire. She did all those
Yeah.
dragons,
Okay.
and then my next series. It's kind of tricky how I say this. My next series that I'm going to write that'll come out. It's a dark,
Hmm.
really dark series. Um, she did the cover for that, and then she just finished some art for a rewrite I'm going to do. So my first series was a trilogy. I wrote it, ended up um, unpublishing it,
Okay.
and now I'm going to rewrite it with how I can write now, and I'm going to
Nice.
expand the world and the story and the characters a lot more. So
Okay.
it's more than just tweaking things. I'm literally going
Yeah.
to strip it all the way down and rewrite
The
everything.
everything. Okay.
Um, yeah, so I'm going to add probably about 60% more story to each book,
Okay. Nice.
and so she's already done the art for book 1 of that,
Okay.
and then she'll end up doing the other 2 books as well. But she's also done some interior art for me for this series as well for Almerian Chronicles. So she's just become my go-to artist.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, with someone who does work like that, why not, man? She's
Yep.
rocking it. She's killing it.
and
Um,
she's an author too. So
oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's very cool. Um, I thought this was cool. Beard of Darkness had said that when you first came on, you were early on, unknown, but he's just saying now all the things you've done, it's just awesome, man. You're doing an awesome job.
I
And
appreciate that.
some of it is luck when somebody posts about something that has a lot of followers, but 99% of it is you, man, and your books and just everything you're doing. So keep doing it. You're doing awesome.
Yeah, I tell a lot of people that when they ask me, how I've been able to succeed at the level I'm at, which is still very small compared to somebody else like Brian
Right.
Cahill.
Yeah.
But um, that is a big part. Luck is a big part, and you can't control that. And what you can control is writing books and writing great stories.
Yeah.
You can get luck and have a lot of people talk about your book initially, your book covers or just the premise, whatever.
Yeah.
But any success that comes out of that has to be from the writing
Right.
itself.
Yeah.
So I'm always going to be grateful for how things picked up for me
Mhm.
with the covers and everything like that. But I also can't knock all the readers that read and review the books and enjoy them and keep coming back for the next one and the next one, next one because
Mhm.
now they're coming back to the story, which is that's what I want. So
Right. That's what it's all about, right?
you know,
That's awesome. So earlier you'd mentioned that you are a big Superman fan. So I also am. So I just need to know, are you excited about the movie coming out next year? What do you think about it? You think it's going to
uh,
be good?
I don't know. Um,
DC hasn't had a good track record for a long time
I know,
with stuff.
I know. I am excited to see what they'll do with it. I guess
Mhm.
I'm always excited to see Superman on screen.
Oh yeah, heck
Um,
yeah.
I think James Gunn is going to make it a lot more like um, maybe comic book accurate and a little bit brighter. That's my wife on there.
I figured. She's like,
Um,
what? They're talking about Superman.
I think he's going to make it maybe a little bit more comic book accurate in tone,
Mhm. I agree.
but it looks like he's making a lot of the same mistakes that were the same problem with you know
Mhm.
with Zack Snyder's version of it. And I
Right.
think the biggest problem they had there was too much, too fast.
Yep. I
And
agree.
initially, James Gunn said he wasn't going to do that. And now, as it turns out, a
They
lot of
gotta
the
keep
behind the
going.
scenes stuff, they're like, "Oh, we're having Green Lantern in it.
I
They're
know.
throwing all these other characters in it, and it just looks like they're going down the same road.
I
And I
know. It's
don't
like
like
that
that they're
was.
bringing the Trunks back.
I know. I was gonna ask you what you thought about the Trunks. I know it'll be interesting. It'll be hard to know until we see it, but I feel like that's just hard
It's
to
it's
put that in realistically. You know.
it's classic, but um,
Yeah.
I think I think Henry Cavill showed us that you know it can be done very well without him,
Yes.
and I personally really liked Henry Cavill's version of Superman a
Mhm.
lot, and
Yeah.
it's going to be hard to have somebody else step into those shoes. Like
Yeah.
Tyler Hoechlin does he's
Oh yeah.
I've watched a lot of clips and stuff of him doing it on Superman and Lois,
Yeah.
and he looks like he does a pretty good job of it.
Yeah. He does.
But I don't know. It's still hard to see anybody else as Superman other than Henry
I
Cavill to
know.
me.
I know. I know. He did a
I
great
think
job.
Zack Snyder had a lot of great potential in
Hmm.
his versions and
Yep.
just some bad
I know.
stories.
Yep. Yep. I know.
But
I wish they would
I
have
still
done.
stand up.
What were
What's
you gonna
that?
say? No. What were you gonna
Oh,
say?
I still stand on that Ben Affleck is the best Batman version we've had.
I know. If
I don't
he,
care.
it's a bummer he never got like his own
I
movie. You
know.
know what I mean? I know. Because
I
yeah,
think
he's been cool.
his characterization was shit in the Flash movie,
Yeah.
um,
Very. Yeah.
and there was still there was still a lot of stupid things that he did, in Batman vs Superman. But at the same time, as far as accuracy goes, I think Ben Affleck nailed the persona of Batman. Maybe not so much Bruce Wayne, but
Yeah.
definitely nailed Batman a lot more than anybody else did.
I agree.
He had the build, he had the ferocity. He fought like Batman. He looked
Yeah.
like Batman,
I
and
agree.
you know, but I like Robert Pattinson's version too.
Yeah.
I think
I thought it was pretty good.
for what they were doing with it, I liked
Yeah.
it. So
Have you watched Penguin at all yet?
I haven't. No, I. Everybody wants me to subscribe to their
I know. There's so
streaming
many
services.
subscription things, man. I know.
There's a lot of them.
It's so true. I know. It's pretty good though. I had
Yeah,
something else and I watched it and it's pretty good.
I'm excited for that world if they keep spanning
Yeah.
that world out. I think
Same.
a lot of people give Robert Pattinson crap for his version of the Batman. For all
Hmm.
the things that, but they completely miss the whole point that it's that version is Batman Year Two,
Right.
and it's super early on.
Oh yeah.
And I think now, granted, I haven't watched the Penguin, but I always keep up on things that matter in world.
Right. Right.
So, like I've seen the clips of the the chairs or whatever in the form of the Court of Owls,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure that the Court of Owls is coming and the Batman too. And
I
if they go those routes where they keep that Batman really gritty and everything like that,
yeah.
so
Yeah. I agree. I do. I was say let's be honest, this Rachel's learning we get to watch these days. Yeah.
yeah,
And you got little ones. Yeah, we know you know how that goes.
yeah. Our son is a year and a half, and he loves
Oh.
Miss Rachel.
How does
That's
writing
it.
go with so many little kids and with work and like everything? Like how do you carve out time for
Well,
that? Is it just part of your process? You always make time for it or
no, I always kind of try to plan that I'm gonna write tonight or whatever, and
Mhm.
if it goes that way, it goes that way. If not, it not. But I write on Google Docs. That way, I can write on my
Yeah.
phone, which I used to write on my phone a lot more. But
Oh wow, okay.
I've been taking my laptop to work, so we get a break usually in the mornings and then lunch break. And if I can knock out 1,000 words between lunch and morning break, and then if at night I can hit another 500 or whatever, at that rate, you're still putting out 40,000 words a month, and
Heck yeah,
that
that's
that
awesome.
works. So
Yeah, it
if I can,
does.
if I find the time to do it, then you know that's great and that works out. But if not, then there's always tomorrow, and part of the learning process. Like this book, I'm trying to speed along anytime a chance I get to write. I really try to write a lot because I have a pre-order set up. Like it's set to
Oh
come out
yeah.
in June. Well, a
Right.
lot of people have
Right.
already pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that anymore. From now on, I'm only gonna set
Oh
up
yeah.
pre-orders like a couple, like after I've finished the first draft.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah. Because I'm sure that
so
adds a little
you know,
extra layer of pressure on you, for sure.
yeah, yeah, especially when you're writing, 750-page book, and you got to get it done, you get it edited, and get it out to ARC readers, and
Oh, yeah. That's the
yeah.
process.
But I like I said, if I can manage, 30,000-40,000 words a month, that's not that bad. Forty
No.
thousand words a month in 4 months.
Yeah.
5 months. That's a 750.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
There's your beastly book. Yeah, for sure. That's good,
And if
man.
I'm only putting out one of these per year,
Right.
that's pretty doable.
That's doable. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Now, with focusing on writing and then with your family, do you have much time to read? Or like if you're working on your book, any free time has to be going towards writing.
Well, I don't read much anymore.
Listen?
I yeah, I listen to a lot of books.
Yeah.
And since I drive, since I work with an Amish crew, and then I do construction. And not so much a lot during the day when I'm working, but
Mhm.
I drive a lot because I have to pick the crew up in the morning and I have to take them home at night.
Yeah.
So on your average given day, I'm getting 3 to 4 hours of drive time a day. So
Mhm.
I listen to a lot of stories. Um, and yeah, usually one after another. As soon as one's done, I'm trying to find another one. Um, if I don't have a credit on Audible, Zach Argyle has put together a really nice channel on
Mhm.
YouTube, and it's Epic Fantasy Audiobooks, I think, or something
I
like
think it
that.
is. Yeah.
And
Mhm.
there's just a ton of books on there. I
Mhm.
mean, there's hundreds of hours of books,
Okay.
entire series on there that you can listen to for free.
Yeah.
And then, so if I can, constantly keep listening to stories, and then this year I've listened to a lot more stories. A friend of mine, Kurt, he turned me on to Joe Abercrombie this year, and before this year, I was always epic fantasy reader, and
Mhm.
this year I fell in love with Grimdark, and I can't go back to brighter stuff.
I know,
So,
right?
um, so I think, and that's shaped a lot of my writing.
Mhm.
Book 3 that I'm writing now is shaping up to be, it's brutal, it's dark, um, and it was kind of going that way from book 1. I
Mhm.
mean, there's reviews in book 1 that are like, oh, he writes like George R. R. Martin kills off his
Yeah.
characters, and I'm like, you haven't
You
seen
ain't seen
anything
nothing yet.
yet. So, um, yeah, so I get to listen to a lot of stories.
That's good.
Recently, recently I tried to get my wife into reading fantasy,
Mhm.
and got her onto A Court of Thorns and Roses,
Mhm. Mhm.
and that was one of the biggest recommendations I put out on Twitter and stuff, asking people, what book should I try to get her into fantasy.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And she got hooked on that, and then we kind of buddy read that together while she was reading it. I got the audiobooks,
That's cool.
and I've seen a lot of people shit on that story and those books, but they're not bad. I mean, they're the
That's what I've heard.
her character work is really good. Um,
Mhm.
First book is pretty derivative, of like Beauty and the Beast and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
by the time you're into the third book, you're pretty attached to the characters, and
Mhm.
she does pretty good work on those. And then so now she's into that, and thinking about getting the next series of hers, and
Mhm.
um, she still ain't picked up something I wanted her to read yet, but we'll get there.
Yeah. You gotta keep it going though while you can. That's pretty cool that you guys can read any kind of fantasy together and talk about it. That's
Yeah,
pretty awesome, dude. That's sweet.
yeah. I'm still gonna try to get her into Joe Abercrombie yet.
Yes.
J
That would
J
that
Kristoff.
Oh yeah. Mhm. Oh yeah, those
I'm
are
like
two of my favorites too.
she loved Vampire Diaries, and I tried to get her to read Empire the Vampire.
Oh, so good, man. Did you read
That's
the
my
second
favorite.
one?
I
Did you read
did.
Empire of the Dam? Me too.
I've listened to the audiobooks. Actually, listened
Mhm.
to them both for the first time this year, and I keep going back to those. I've
Yeah.
listened to book one, I think, 6 times, and book two 5 times.
Oh, dang, man.
They're
Awesome.
it's
They're
it's
so
my
good.
it's my favorite series. But
Mhm.
you get the audiobook too, and Damian Lynch that narrates this is just
Mhm.
that's who I want to narrate my books. So
Oh, dude, that would
um,
be awesome. He's good. I listened to Empire of the Vampire on audio, but I read the second one.
yeah,
But yeah, he's really good.
yeah, yeah. He's pretty good. And then yeah, so like there's a couple books I picked up this year that um, they were really right down the lane of what I used to listen to or
Mhm.
read when I was growing up. Those little bit maybe more noble brides or just classic fantasy.
Yeah.
And I was reading them and I'm like, it's just it's too hopeful, it's too bright, it's too
Right, I
colorful.
know.
I
Yes.
just something broke inside me that I can't go back to it. And
I know. I'm the same way, man. It's hard. It's hard. I know, 'cause yeah, those are two of my favorites too. Abercrombie and or First Law and Empire of the Vampire. It's when you read those, you just want something else like that.
and a lot of people that don't read Grimdark or
Mhm.
they know about it but they won't try it. They're like, oh, I don't want that hopeless world and
Right.
nihilism and things like that. And I'm like, there's when Grimdark is done right,
Mhm.
there's something about the characters that is so much more attachable to
Yes.
you. And
Mhm.
it's not that the world is hopeless. There are always these little glimpses of hope,
Yep.
and usually things don't work out for the characters,
Yep. Right.
But I think in Grimdark, those little moments of hope shine a lot brighter
Yes.
because it's Grimdark than it does, in your classic fantasy where you're hoping that the hero wins.
Right. Yep.
When you got a world that is just brutal and grim, and then you get this sliver of hope that the character might be all right,
Yeah.
and then the author
No, they're not.
kicks you in the teeth, and
Yep. Yep.
so
Yep.
I think that's kind of the path I'm going down in writing, and that's kind of why my next dark series, my dark fantasy series, is going to be. I'm gonna make it real dark. So
I'm excited, man. So is that
and
are you
that
doing
that
that?
one's
Are you doing that after book 3? Is that what you're doing next? Or are you doing
so
something
my
in the
first
same
series that
vein?
so I'm gonna do book three. I'm gonna finish up book three, and I'm hoping to finish writing around January or February,
Mhm.
and then I'll get that sent off to alphas and things like that. And then I'm going to immediately start rewriting my first series that I unpublished,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna try to. I'm gonna watch the analytics on this time. I'm gonna rewrite all of them,
Mhm.
and I should be able to rewrite them faster than I write a novel.
Right.
But when I rewrite them, I'm going to release them every 6 months
Okay.
instead of every year.
Yeah.
And I want to watch the analytics of how that keeps up momentum of a series. So my hope is to have book one out by next November, December,
Mhm.
and then 6 months later, book two. 6 months later, book three.
Sick.
But since that is spanned out across the year, in that year that I'm doing that, I'm going to start writing my dark fantasy. So by the time book three comes out of that series, and then that series is done, I should be pretty close to being done with book one of the new series.
Oh, man.
So it'll keep
Yeah.
rolling.
Every few months, we're gonna
Um,
get something new from you. I like it.
yep. And and that dark fantasy is heavily inspired by Joe Abercrombie and
Mhm.
Empire of the Vampire of Jay Kristoff.
She's that's a saying. Yep. Yep. She agrees. She didn't know how to respond afterward. Oh
Yeah,
man.
she
Well
just
then it's good stuff then.
yeah she kind of looked at me like I went psycho. Um, but that series is going to be it's going to be vampires and werewolves,
Mhm.
and it's also set in a world that there's no sun. A lot different explanation than Empire of the Vampire.
Mhm.
and the world has been dark for much longer, like 1,000 years. So the world itself is going
Wow.
to be um, it's going to be a lot more changed than what J. Kristoff made it,
Okay.
um, and everything else has evolved over 1,000 years of darkness, and it's not complete darkness.
Mhm.
So in that series, I'm gonna start writing. Um, Basically, long story short, you have twin gods that fought, and when they fought, it was the world below that suffered.
Mhm.
There was a moon god and there was a sun god. They fought, and when they battled out and shit went south, um, the sun itself lost a lot of its power. So now it just sits when it's in the sky. Now it's this red, just this deep red orb, and then so the moon itself also is pretty shallow, and that has affected the vampires and the werewolves that had already been in this world for
Mhm.
thousands of years,
Yeah.
but now they can come out. So I say it's like mixing Empire of the Vampire with First Law, throw in some underworld movies,
Oh man.
and then cast it in a lens of Tombstone. That's gonna be that series.
Oh gosh, man, there's like four of my favorite things.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that, and that when I'm at a point now in my writing that after this series is done and after my rewritten series is published, I get to kind of start playing around a little bit, see
Mhm.
how I want to write, what I want to write,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to learn to not take myself so serious when it comes to writing.
Mhm.
To make things weird, how fantasy should be, and um, I try to really stray away from classic tropes and settings and
Yeah.
creatures and races and things like that,
Mhm.
and just do something just really messed up. And that's gonna be that series.
Yeah. I love it, man. I'm pumped. That sounds awesome. Mike Molman's here, and he agrees. Oh, not that one. Wrong comment. He said he came in and heard vampires and werewolves. Sounds amazing already. I agree. I think that's so cool. That's something you don't see a lot in fantasy, you know? So I think that sounds awesome.
I think I think vampires and maybe werewolves. I think they're gonna start making a really big comeback.
Mhm. I
I
think so
think
too.
we had a phase through the 80s, 70s to 80s,
Mhm.
early 90s, where vampires were monstrous vampires. They were
Yeah.
you know they were monsters that need to be slain, and
Mhm.
werewolves. And then we got into the Twilight era, and
Mhm.
everything became romanticized.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure exactly if just people got tired of it or what, but that
Right.
trend, mostly died out. It
Yep.
still has an audience there, but
Right. It's not as
I think,
mainstream.
yeah, and I think combining Empire of the Vampire with the Devils that's going to come out, Joe Abercrombie,
Mhm.
which has got werewolves and things like that,
Heck
monsters.
yeah. Mhm.
I think we're on the brink of the era of monsters coming back, and I
Mhm.
think and I hope that my book releases at just the right time
Yep.
when it all comes together.
I think it will, man. That's true. I think it'll be right in the sweet spot for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I like I'd always wanted to do Dragon Riders,
mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, by the time I got around to it, there was already some pretty big names already doing it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
you can ride the coattail of some other authors' their tropes or whatever their settings,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's got to be you got to kind of carve your own path as well.
Mhm.
So like
Yep.
I always tell people, I'm like, well, if you like Brian Cahill, if you like Michael R. Miller, M.O. Spencer,
Yep.
then give mine a try.
Yeah.
But mine is a lot different than theirs. It's
Right.
probably closest to Ryan's,
Mhm.
and as far as tone goes, it's
Right.
more grim and older, but um, it's really grown into something vastly different than his even, which is
Yeah.
good, But it's hard to tell people if you like theirs, then you'll like mine. And then they get in mine and they're like, this is dark.
Same thing, yeah. That gets them in the door.
Yeah. I said like it's got dragons.
Yeah, you said like. You didn't say exactly the same. That's true, man. That's so true. I didn't want to forget to say this. Jay Schwab had said when you were talking about reading with your wife, they said to give Fawn Light series from H.C. Newell. I haven't heard of that one before. I don't know if you have.
I listened to the audiobook of book
Okay.
1, and that was before she I guess she's rewritten or added more or something like that. And a lot of people seem to say that those are really good too, but
Okay.
I liked book 1. I mean, it was pretty good.
Okay.
I might have to read those.
Yeah, there you go.
But she's kind of on a Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah, you have to see that all the way through.
She's got a long path to go through to get through all her books yet. And she's got the entire Throne of Glass, which is 7 or 8 books of Throne of Glass.
Yep.
And now we're on the 3rd book of Crescent City.
Yeah. And those are beefy books. The
Crescent
City.
Yeah. She reads fast though. When she really gets in the mood to read, she really tears through books. I mean, she was on a Colleen Hoover trip last year, the year before, something like that. And that was when she was not really a big reader, and then she got into those.
Yeah.
And she blazed through those books.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure when she's really locked into books, she reads faster than I do.
Oh yeah.
Because I remember reading books.
Yep. I know. My wife's like that too. She'll like never read, but then she'll sit down with a book. She loves like the stuff that's set during like World War II era. That's like her jam.
Oh yeah.
She'll sit down with a book and she'll literally read it in one day from start to finish. And I'm like, gosh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah. Yeah, she's
I get that.
Like she'll sit down, and I remember the one night she was up reading, and but by the time she actually put the book down, I was like, "How much did you read?" She's like, "Oh no, not that much. It was like 114 pages." I'm like, "You just did that one sitting."
Not that much. Oh yeah, that's like what I hope to get through in a few days, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's hard to judge with me using doing audiobooks. I'm like,
yeah, that's true.
I don't know how many pages it was.
I know.
I'll tell you what chapter I'm on.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I know. I always like when I'm doing an audiobook, but I have the physical. Every once in a while, I have a bookmark in there, and I'll go, let's see how far I've gotten, and then I'll move it to where I'm at, and it's like, ooh. Or sometimes it's like, I'm barely even that far in this.
Yeah, I like which I bought her. We bought the physical books for her on those, the ACOTAR series, and I think the most interesting thing is when you read the physical names, the physical books. You read the characters' names, the place names, and see how they're all spelled.
Oh yeah.
And you listen to the audiobook and they're like, that's not how I would have spelled it. Even as a fantasy author, that's not how I would have spelled it.
I know.
So I can only imagine like people read my character and stuff like I hear it a lot actually. My main character is Arik.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just read it, a lot of people are like, oh, it's Eric. Everybody calls him Eric. Which I guess makes sense, but that's why I put a pronunciation guide in the back.
Yes, I'm gonna have to look at that when I start reading it because I would have said Eric, but now I know it's Arik. I got it.
Which
that's good.
That was kind of a pain in the ass too, doing the pronunciations.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I know how I'm saying them. How do you write out? No, so I'll show you like these. So this is the blocks of them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Nice.
So I put that in all the books. So you can see how they're at least where the inflections are. So
it's important.
Yeah. But I like putting those things in there, and you get the map and all that. And
mm-hmm.
It just
that's good.
It kind of helps things out.
Yeah. I love how involved she is in your writing, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what I do sometimes. I'll write out a name. I'm like, read that name.
You should start doing some. You should do some of your shorts and like say like have you on camera and say, this is how you say the character name, and then record her saying it. See how it
There we
goes.
go.
That would be fun. Oh man,
I told her we need to get on and start a little, BookTube channel or whatever.
yeah, dude, you guys would kill it.
I mean, she's building up her bookshelf in there, and I know she's got thoughts on books. So
Heck yeah, dude, you guys should. That'd be awesome. Oh, I think now. Do you have orcs in your book? Jay Schwab said your
I
take on
do.
orcs. My favorite twist to your fantasy writing. That's awesome.
Yep, I my orcs are they're kind of heavily inspired by World of Warcraft, Azeroth orcs.
Oh, nice.
And I really wanted to do my orcs and have them be, real characters and not just cannon fodder, not just brutal monsters like Tolkien's. I made my orcs, and it's interesting how I wrote them on purpose to be like this. When you first start book one, you see the orcs through the eyes of Arik and Moro, and you automatically get the sense that they are brutal monsters. Chapter 2 of book 1, there's a fight, and they're vicious and they're brutal, and that's all you see them as. But as the book goes on, you try to say this without spoiling. You get to see their perspective. You get to see their city and how they are in their home life.
That's awesome.
And you see that they are actually a really honorable people. They are a tribe of war, yes, but they have families and everything, I guess, and they have a sense of honor. They have a sense of ranking, and I really wanted to flesh out my orcs to be something else, a clan of people.
Yeah,
and I took a lot of Old Norse and Viking culture to shape their culture. So
I love that.
a lot of people really like the orcs there.
Yeah, because usually you just see them as the villain, or they're just, you don't really see them living life. You just see them doing something brutal, and I think that's awesome. I'm pumped, man.
Yeah, it was quite interesting because you get to see the orcs several times throughout book 1 and 2. And for the first time in book 3, I have a POV chapter, several POV chapters from one of the orcs, from the orc chieftain, Ergoth. And that was quite interesting to write his character, because it's just so different to get inside the mind of a war chief, and that's a lot different than my normal characters are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it also gives another perspective into the lives of the orcs, more so than what I've already given. But I do that with all my races. I flip everything around. Elves are usually graceful and these prim prostate, these proper factions, and my elves are a bunch of dicks. So
I love that, man. Flip those tropes upside down. That makes it more fun.
I do. I flip a lot of tropes. I mean, the biggest trope flip I did is in the description of book 1. Arik is a chosen one, but not a chosen hero. He's a prophesized world breaker. He's prophesized to destroy the world.
Right.
And that's your main character of the series.
That's
I really, I really do enjoy flipping tropes, though. I like turning things on their head.
That's good, dude.
There's something interesting about taking something that feels familiar, and yet it's flipped. When it's flipped like that, you get the sense that you still get that sense of familiarity, and yet nothing seems predictable by the time you're through it.
Oh yeah,
that's fun.
That's good. So the nice thing, Beard of Darkness. I feel the same way, Matt. Go kiss those babies, dude. Thanks for coming. We love you too. Well, dude, I just looked. It's already been over an hour. This flew by.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Heck yeah, dude. So I got to put this up right now. So I've got a link in the description down below to book 1. and all your books on Amazon. But earlier, someone had asked, and I didn't ask you earlier, but is there any other place to buy your books, or is there a place to buy books directly from you, or anything like that, or is Amazon the best place to go?
So Amazon's the best place to get them the fastest,
Okay.
and probably price wise.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a shop on my website, and you can order signed copies through that.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people have been asked about hardcover copies, and I can't say yet why, but the hardcovers are coming.
Okay.
And they're gonna be done a lot better than what they were before. I've been fighting for a while to get those made, and so those are coming yet, and those will also be available on my store on the website to get signed copies. So, but as far as if you want just to get the books straight through, the fastest and the cheapest is still Amazon. Yeah.
Okay.
I know a lot of people like to say that they like to pay the author directly and everything like that, but
Anything
for me, yeah, for me, if you get the books, that's that's everything.
that's most important.
So, and if you just got the ebooks, they are on Kindle Unlimited. All my books are always on Kindle Unlimited. Book 1, book 2 are on Audible, and my narrator is working on both prequels.
Nice.
So I have a new narrator. So I had a new narrator take over for book 2.
Okay.
But he's going to do both prequels and book 3 as well.
Sweet.
So they'll all be an audiobook as well.
Okay. Very cool. Shoot. Oh, so after we get off, I'll get the info. I'll put right now your store isn't in there, but I'll put it in there. So anybody watching live or the replay, the links to his store will be in there too, so you can check that out. And your wife said one more thing, that you love those cliffhangers. Everybody loves a good cliffhanger. It makes you want that next book. You got to do it.
Oh, people hate my cliffhangers.
I'm getting ready to experience that, I'm sure, when I start book 1. So I can't wait, man. So just some good things people are saying. Almerian Chronicles is must read. And don't skip the novella. I gotta do that. The dwarfs, yes. And you said after book 2, you recommend that one, right?
That's when I would recommend them, yes.
Okay, sweet. And then Grimfell says you're killing it, so keep it up. And I agree. Rocking it, man. So yeah, this was fun, dude. I'll have to have you on many more times, every 6 months when you got something new coming out. Or anytime you just want to hang out, man. You're awesome. So this was a lot of fun. Anything you want to say before we go about your books or anything else?
Yeah, if you like Dragon Rider stories and you like something a little bit more adult and something with adult characters, that's always been a big thing. People like my characters because they're not teenagers. Then maybe check them out. If not, that's all right.
You should check them out. They're awesome. Look at them behind me. They're so pretty.
Yeah, go buy them. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's what he meant. Read between the lines. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone that was here in the chat. It was awesome. You guys asked a lot of good questions. It was fun. And then everybody watching on replay, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Check out Corey's books. And until I see you guys in the next video, as always, devour your TBRs, be brave, be beautiful to one another, and be beastly. We'll see ya. Good night, everybody. Awkward.